Welcome back to where Black Cats walk. Sunderland are going great guns, but are all Sunderland fans happy with the transfer window business now it is closed? Well, to review that, we've got Leo, and this is the most comprehensive, quickest review of all things Sunderland on the internet. Thank you for watching. It's getting a bit boring, this, Leo, isn't it? Talking about how great Sunderland are. How are you, fella?
Yeah, I'm very good. As I said last week, playing away at Pompey is never an easy task, no matter what level it is, no matter what the difference between the leagues are. But yeah, great performance yesterday. So on top of the world right now.
All right, we're going to review the Pompey result. We're also going to talk about the transfer window now is shut. What gradings would you give the business that Sunderland have done? We're going to look at this, all the spendings, we'll look at the balances. We're also going to look ahead at the next set of fixtures for the Black Cats and to see where we think what September has in store. But you couldn't have asked for any more, could you? 1 goal conceded, maximum points. The only team now with maximum points, sitting top of the league. Ballard back. And everything's looking good. Are there any criticisms, Leo, that you can think of the play that you've seen so far?
No, honestly. I would say the only criticism I've seemed to have this season, never mind just last game, was the first 2 games of the season and how slow we were to get out of the blocks in those first 10 minutes. But as I've said on previous videos, we sorted that out within the first 10 minutes of the game. In terms of yesterday, I was watching along. I didn't see anything major where it's like we need to deal with this now. Obviously, the odd loose ball and the loose pass that will happen in a game. You're not going to get 100% of perfect passes in a game. So, yeah, no complaints from me.
Let's have a look, shall we, then, at what social media are made of it. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. We really love making this content for you. The rest of the team are on holiday this week, but throughout the year, it's going to be your bit on. We'd love to have you alongside with us then. Let's have a look at what social media said. As you can imagine, it was all positive. Freddie said, Mayenda with 4GA in 4 games, by the way. Never let anyone tell you he's good enough for this level. And some people have suggested that, haven't they, that perhaps he isn't championship level, but have you seen a massive improvement in his contribution all around the pitch?
Yeah, 100%. From the very little game time that we gave him last season, I didn't see a lot that was inspiring. And that was why there was a big worry for a striker in the summer, was because it was looking like he was going to be our main man and people were panicking, thinking, well, from what we've seen, he isn't good enough. That hasn't been the case. Whether he can be consistent with what he's done, he's on great form. Obviously, 2 assists in the last game. Yeah, he's on great form. And not even just in terms of the stats like the tweet talks about, his energy level and the runs he's bringing and the tenacity he gives up top. It's something that we haven't seen in a long time from our number 9s.
Nathan, very optimistic here. That we can strike going up by Christmas. We'll see if that comes to level. I want to come back to the other ones about the transfer window in a second. But before we do that, some people have said you haven't really been tested yet by the opposition that you've played. Burnley aside, do you go along with that?
Well, I think Dylan mentioned it last week where he was saying, when are we going to stop saying that teams are playing bad against us, and when are we going to start just saying that we played well? Because, Burnley, Portsmouth, Sheffield Wednesday, you would say apart from Burnley, there's no real promotion contenders in that. But, like I said, going away to Pompey is not an easy game. Sheffield Wednesday coming off a 4-0 win, not an easy game. So I would say in terms of performance, we haven't been tested. We haven't been really put up against it. But in terms of the team we're coming against, that's just because we're shutting them down. We're shutting down everything they've got and we're combating their setup perfectly.
All right, we'll have a look at the next game then in a second. First of all, let's have a review of the transfer window then. And what we'd like you all to do, if you're watching, you could grade at the bottom of the comments there for us. What score out of 10 would you give Sunderland's transfer dealings? If we look at overall spendings, Leo, so I'll just drop onto screen there. Sunderland a bang in the middle there. Was just nearly €7 million spent. But when we come to the balance of it all, you can see we'll just switch it round. We switch it round now. Sunderland are the sixth highest team in terms of money recouped over the transfer window. So in terms of the overall bank ledger, you would say this has been a positive window. But I'll just show you these tweets by some people. George said this summer has proved that either Speakman can't consistently negotiate deals at this level like he did with Broadhead and Stewart with one of the things when we first got promoted, or KLD doesn't have the money we reckon he does because we've spent now. Striker issue for this is if this derails our season. Not sure Speakman comes back from this. Questions now have to be asked of KLD too. It's a huge risk going with what we now have. Just on that last point, it's a huge risk going with what we have now. Where do you stand with it?
I stand at the fact we're 4 games in and top of the league. I mean, I've seen a lot of, obviously I've been following all the transfer news, especially across deadline day and all of the tweets. And as Carl mentioned last season, it's not a case in transfers where every single penny that comes into the club can get sent back out buying players. There's other things that need to be spent to run a club. And as you showed the charts with the incomings and the spending, I would say a lot of that, it is accurate, but in terms of those figures could have been different because we've got Wilson Isidore on loan with an option to buy. That's got a clause with a bit more money that we potentially spending. And we've sent Pierre Ekwa and Lewis Hamir out on loan. And those clubs have option to buys. So, I don't really see a problem with our window. We have signed 2 strikers through the door. We've got a centre mid who's played in the Champions League last season on loan. Chris Meffamu's proven at this level as a centre back, like we were talking about last season. I don't really understand the whole thing around Speakman and KLD and what they're doing, because we're top of the league. We're top of the league and we're getting names through the door. Whether that turns out, we're going to have to see whether that continues through other seasons. If these loans expire and then we don't get a striker through the door, or we get promoted and we don't sign the players that are going to keep us in that league, then yeah, there can be questions asked. But as of right now, I have no problem.
Let's have a look at some of those players then. So Alexic, as you mentioned, 3 million, and then just on deadline day, good luck making a song for after 3 million from yeah, okay. These aren't marquee names, are they? However, there must be something about it to demand the sorry, Abdullah is not trying to put this a marquee name, but there must be something about them to demand these transfer fees. There are people suggesting that Isidore isn't really a striker and is a forward anywhere in the forward role. So really, people say we've only actually signed one out and out striker, which is Abdullah, and of course that would see how good it is. So can you understand people's point of view saying you haven't solved this same problem which we've been asking for? And if Birmingham can put up 10 million for Stansfield, why can't Sunderland? Do you understand people saying things like that?
Kind of, but not to the extent that people are going to on social media. I think I can't remember who it was that we put a bid in. I think it was the Lon striker, Bamba, potentially he's called. We had a bid, reportedly a bid rejected him for 10 million on deadline day. So they were willing to spend that money. And it was just, there was names. Simic chose Cardiff over us, chose to go to Cardiff. It's not like we've had a history, as we spoke about last week, of just panicking on deadline day and panicking near the end of a window and saying, all right, we'll spend 4 million on this player, and they end up being worth £4. Like, we've spent some money And it's not just like previous seasons where it's loans and then they get recalled and then it's like, okay, we're left without a striker. We've got these players now. We've got these for the season and potentially future years, as with Abdullahi and with even with Isidore with the potential buy clause. So I don't see a problem with it, honestly.
Let's have a look at the outgoings before we move on from this discussion. Obviously, Jack Clark going for the summer money, which is obviously all what you recouped there. Are there any on there that you look at and go, I wish we might have hung on to them?
I think the thing with Ekwa is it's a loan transfer there, but they do have the option to buy for 7 million, which I think if they take that, it could be a good move for both. You know, we've signed Alan Brown. Obviously, Chris Riggs coming through, getting more minutes. We've just signed the centre mid on loan. So I think that's not a bad move for him. In terms of the rest of the moves, obviously Jack Clark hurts, but the rest of the moves, I wouldn't see them getting, you know, consistent, considerate minutes to really make a difference in the squad. Embleton could have been a rotation player, but wouldn't be starting. So yeah, I think we've done a great job at just kind of making moves that seem right for both parties.
Second youngest squad, of course, as well, behind Stoke. With the exception of Alan Brown, who does bring experience, is there any doubt in your mind that that's something you might be lacking? Because this is a very youthful, or lots of these players are new.
Yeah, I think in terms of the new signings and Rig and the likes of that, I think you can say inexperience, just in terms of whether it's age or experience in English football. But even in terms of our younger players, the likes of Ballard, the likes of Patterson, they've had 3-4 seasons in Championship football now. So they've got probably 70, 80 games under their belt. That is experience. The age, yes, it probably would matter in terms of the dressing room and in terms of like leading the team. But as Labrise has done, he's set up this more like leadership role within the squad, and he's picked 6 names. And I think 3 or 4 of those names are under 25 years old. So there's a lot of experience in the squad in terms of games played. I don't think age matters too much.
All right, well, it's been a great start. The next trip then is to Plymouth, your longest journey of the whole calendar year. Should be another 3 points, shouldn't it?
I would hope so. Obviously, with the international break coming up, and with a couple of injuries that we've took to the squad, we've got to think about how we'll set up for that game. I can't see it being any different to how we set up for the last game. But yeah, hopefully 3 points should be.
What time will fans be setting off for Plymouth and Sunderland?
I mean, the cleverest option would be to set off the night before and then probably stay overnight. But I think people travelling down on fan buses would probably be about 2-3 o'clock in the morning, which
shout out to any Sunderland fans making that journey. Yeah. We're also asking this week on the back of that, what's the worst away trip that you've ever been on in terms of results or experience? We'll ask Leo his in a second. But comment below what is there's been a few for Sunderland over the years. What's been the worst experience you've had at any ground for any reason? Leo, what's one that sticks out for you?
I would say the game that Lee Johnson got sacked in League One, 6-0 away to Bolton. That one was rough. In terms of other ones, 4-1 away to Burnley in the Prem, when our only goal should have been disallowed for a handball, so more or less 4-0. And then if you can count Wembley as an away day, basically any Wembley trip apart from the League One playoff final.
Can you beat that? There were also always simple fans. Remember Ron Keane bringing the sides of Lewis Park and getting fresh 7. That was a little bit
Yeah.
stick in my mind for the
Yeah,
opposite
I
reasons.
remember the Aruna Kone hat trick, but I wasn't at that game.
Right. Thank you very much, Leo. We will have a look at the fixtures over the next couple of next month and a half. Let's see how many points you reckon. There doesn't seem to be on here. I've got the Leeds one coming up in October. There doesn't seem to be too many worries. I suppose the first test we'll have will be that Borough game, the derby in mid-September, and then to Watford derby, and then Sunderland. So you've got some big home games coming up. We'll know a lot more about Sunderland, won't we, by the end of the next month.
Yeah, I think obviously until this past week, Watford were the only team with us with 100% record. So I think that could be a tough game as well, going away to Vicarage Road. But I think Borough will be the first real test. Last season at home at Borough, we got beat 4-0. I'm hoping that doesn't happen again by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, I think in terms of Brees, he'll know what to do for games like that. He knows the Borough game's going to be high intensity, tackles flying everywhere. They're going to want to get out of us quickly because that's what worked for them last season. So yeah, some very tough games coming up in the next month, but hopefully we can ride it.
And we'll be here to bring you all the previews and reviews of every single one of them on Where Black Cats Walk. Thank you very much, Leo. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Drop us a like, and again, drop in your awful away day memories. Cheers, Leo. Thank you very much, and thank you all very much for watching.
No problem.